Young voters may have helped Democrats during the midterms, but don't be fooled. Democrats have a lot of work to do. Check out these headlines analysis. Democrats would have gotten crushed this election without young voters. That is coming from a headline from CNN. The next one, young voters' enthusiasm for Democrats waned during midterms. Now, how did young voters save Democrats, but also lose faith in them? I'm so glad that you asked me this question because we have the answer here on Unbossed. Voters under 30 went 53% for Democratic House candidates compared with only 41% for Republican candidates nationwide, according to AP Votecast, a sweeping national survey of the electorate. But the level of support for Democrats was down compared with 2020, when such voters supported President Joe Biden over his predecessor, Donald J. Trump, 61% to 36%. And this was written in the Associated Press. Let's go on to the next point. Still, the trend line for younger voters may be an early indicator of the Democrats' challenge to maintain the coalition of Black people, women, college-educated voters, city dwellers, and suburbanites that have buoyed the party in the years since Trump won the White House. And this headline, op-ed, the neglect of younger voters is a lost opportunity for political parties. And then we go a little further. The issues of interest cited most frequently by young people, such as climate change, gun violence, and reproductive rights, are often overlooked by campaigns and candidates in favor of issues important to older voters, such as Medicare, prescription drugs, and Social Security. Now, Lance, I want to stop right there, and I understand what Mindy from the Los Angeles Times is saying. Now, if we all live long enough, we're gonna have to need those things. I would argue that prescription drugs are needed by people of any age. All ages get sick and may need some pharmaceutical drugs. We get that, but I understand what her point is. And so, if indeed this is the case, and it appears to be the case, why is it that you think that the Democrats seem not to be able to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time? Why can't we deal with the issues that older voters care about and the issues that younger voters care about?
Yeah, it completely makes sense to me that I think sometimes the Democrats seem to take a lot of this for granted, as if they believe that they're just owed or they're just going to get these kind of demographic votes, because usually young people do skew more towards the Democratic Party, and especially when it comes to LGBTQ plus youth and stuff like that. But then you'll get weird moments where, like the president of the United States will say things like, "If you don't vote for me, you ain't black."
You ain't black. Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, okay, that's a very weird and racist thing to say, especially when like you should be doing things that actually affect the material conditions of these groups that you're trying to reach out to all the time. Like it's one thing to be like, you know what, we're gonna forgive student debt. And it's like, well, how much? A crumb. A little crumb of student debt. You get a crumb of student debt, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that one got held up in the courts, but we're still on board. We want to do this eventually. Hopefully, we'll win. And don't get me wrong, that's better than the alternative right now, which is basically the rapid march towards kind of proto-fascism or whatever the Republicans are doing right now. But it doesn't mean the Democrats actually produce results for people, which is what I think would move a lot of, especially younger demographics, towards voting for them.
I agree with you, and younger voters are much more progressive in that. I don't know why I mean, the word progressive is a beautiful word. It means moving forward, that you want things to be better than what they are now. And it really does boggle my mind, to use the technical term, why anybody would be okay with the way things are as they are. Why wouldn't we want things to get better and better and better and better? And fundamentally, that is what progressivism is all about. So let's quickly get through these headlines to show just how young voters are being let down. Let's look at the economy. Gen Z has 86% less purchasing power than baby boomers did in their 20s. Millennials and Gen Z aren't broke because of avocado toast, which, by the way, I'm a tell on myself, I do like avocado toast.
Same.
They're broke because prices have shot up and wages haven't kept pace. I mean, Land, I don't want anybody coming for my avocado toast, okay? Now, I am a Cleveland girl that yeah, certainly in my youth, in my 20s, I was not eating avocado toast. But hell, I'm eating some avocado toast now, so don't come for my avocado toast. But anyway, on a more serious note, it is very clear that the American dream portion that every generation is, fighting for themselves and also fighting that the next generation will do better and have more and progress more socially, politically, and economically, we can see that on the economy, that is not happening. And so you have parents and grandparents unsure about whether or not the children or the young people in their lives will actually do better materially than them. This is a problem. And on climate, President Biden's climate ambitions are all but dead. A year after he promised to cut US emissions in half by 2030, experts say the goal is virtually out of reach now. Now I wonder why the goal is out of reach. You know why it's out of reach? Because they're not trying hard enough. That's why it's out of reach. And these young people, they get it. These younger voters, they get it. They're not playing. They're not falling for the okie doke or the banana in the tailpipe. They're not. And on reproductive health care and abortion rights, a top priority for youth voters, opinion, the fall of Roe is the culmination of the Democratic establishment's failures. I could not agree more. And on gun violence, from Sandy Hook to Buffalo and Uvalde, 10 years of failure on gun control. Biden has played a central role in unsuccessful effort to enact significant firearm legislation amid thousands of mass shootings, including another one this week at a Texas elementary school. So it is very clear that the younger generation, they are being left behind by both parties, but the Democrats especially seem to think that they are owed, and Lance, that was the point you made earlier, that they are owed the youth vote, and the young people are not rocking. And if they keep going at this rate, the youth won't be there to save them in 2024, nor should they be there to save them in 2024 unless they deliver. Let's take a look at this. A survey from the New York Times and the Siena College found that just 1% of 18 to 29-year-olds strongly approve of the way Mr. Biden is handling his job. And 94% of Democrats under 30 said they want another candidate, hello somebody, to run 2 years from now of all age groups. Hello, young voters were most likely to say they wouldn't vote for either Mr. Biden or Mr. Trump in a hypothetical 2024 rematch. Now, Lance, that's saying something. I just want to get into that, even if we only do it for 60 seconds. To think that in 2024, that those are the only two choices that the American people may have, it doesn't float my boat either. So I'm with the younger voters. I'm young adjacent. See, that's me. But I'm with them. I feel them. Those should not be the only choices. And yes, people from all age groups, all identities, all backgrounds should be able to compete for the presidency, but I'm feeling what they putting down. I'm catching what they putting down. Lance?
I mean, I totally agree with you. I think like sometimes people think that the youth, they're not clever or something. I don't know what they think people are learning from TikTok, but the kids are teaching each other quite a bit and they see the world for what it is. You see all these kind of problems. They see that they're going to be growing up in a climate catastrophe. They see gross wealth inequality just becoming barbaric at this point. Like I think today a study just came out that shows the top US energy companies raked in about $14 billion in profit in like the last 3 quarters. And they're putting $11 billion into stock buybacks as well as shareholder dividends. If kids see this kind of things, like you don't need conspiracy theories. It's basically just like life is so much harder now because of all this. Isn't there at least going to ever be a party that represents everyday working people who want a future for the planet?
Yeah, and that's not too much to ask, Lance. I'm reflecting on 2008 when the Great Recession hit, and a lot of millennials, like my son is a millennial. I mean, they had it really hard, and many of them had to move back home if they had home, assuming that they had parents who could really help them. There are a lot of younger people who did not have that, who do not have that, and we take that for granted. And as long as these parties living in a bubble and they all socialize together, their kids are gonna be all right, their kids' are gonna be all right. They go to the same schools, they go to the same parties, they eat at the same restaurants, they're just fine. But what I am concerned about, and you, Lance, and other people who actually care about the progress of the least of these, is whether Big Mama and Big Papa's kids and kids are gonna be all right in hoods where they're misunderstood all over this country, whether they're rural hoods, urban hoods, or suburban hoods. And the Democrats better get a clue, and they need to get it quickly. And the damn Republicans, Lord have mercy. I will be praying here